The Orlando Magic answer the call after Monday's game and continue to put the pieces together. Have they found their will to win? And even more history for Paolo, Banchero, and Franz Wagner today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is April 2nd, 2025. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can follow me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD and on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, the Orlando Magic continue to look more and more like themselves. How they put the pieces together to make sure they got a critical win over the San Antonio Spurs. Plus, the history Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner continue to make. We're going to get to all that coming up here in just a moment. First, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. No matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload, we truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. You can make Locked On Magic even bigger part of your day with the Locked On Magic Daily Newsletter, the one-stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. And start your day with the all-new free Locked On Magic newsletter. The Orlando Magic have been chasing ghosts all season. Like, you know it, I know it. It's been the thing. We know this Magic team can be better than its record. 38 and 40 now? No. 38 and 39. No, 37 and 39. Whatever their record is. 37 and 40. No, that's not. I don't know what their record is. They got their record. They got 5 games left. We know what this team was supposed to be. And we saw in November and December, the Magic look like the team we thought they could be. Even with the injuries to Paolo Banchero and everything else, it felt like the Magic had built a true culture, had established a true kind of identity that could sustain past all the injuries. Now, like obviously the Magic lost 2 very key players and kind of emotional centers for the team, and they haven't been able to recapture all that. What's been frustrating about January and February, and even in a little bit of March, is not necessarily that the Magic were losing or not meeting preseason expectations. What was disappointing about that time period was that it did not feel like the Magic were themselves. They weren't doing the things that we know that they do to win. They weren't consistent defensively. It felt like they got outworked. It felt like they were always climbing uphill rather than kind of playing with this aura and swagger that's so vital to this team. March has helped regain a lot of that. But we've still seen moments when it's not quite there. What really, I think, differentiates like the winning teams, like those really good winning teams, from just nice teams, is this intangible thing that's just simply the will to win. Even on a bad night, they give themselves a chance. Even on a bad night, they know they are a good 6-minute stretch from putting a game away. Especially against the worst teams in the league. Now, you don't want to play with your food, and this time of year you want to be a little bit more together. But what the Magic have not shown since December is that we can play a bad game and still win. And not only still win, but still win comfortably. Not that you want that to happen, but some nights you're not going to have it. Second night of a back-to-back, a long trip to San Antonio, late night landing in San Antonio after a physical game. It was not so surprising that the Orlando Magic settled for threes. We're a little loose and lax defensively. It's not good, it's not acceptable, it's not an excuse, but it's not surprising. And so that the San Antonio Spurs were able to get themselves going, a pretty strong shooting team. They were able to kind of fight their way into the lead, that the Magic ran out of steam a little bit offensively, That's not Magic basketball. But what was different about this game, and what is yet another sign that the Magic are playing their best at these critical moments. They're putting together what they need to win these games. At the end of the day, the how it's important, the process is important. The result is what matters right now. We are in the result business now. What mattered is the Magic found the will. Down by 11 midway through the third quarter, Orlando lost grip. They lost grip on the game. San Antonio was playing with more energy. They were getting stops. The three-point shooting had fallen off. The Spurs were hitting everything. Orlando was letting go of the game and losing this key opportunity to make up ground, to put themselves in that best spot for the playoffs. And then they stopped and dominated the rest of the game. Then they did what all good teams do, or what all the best teams do. They put their foot down and dominated the rest of the game. They got some big plays from Franz Wagner down the stretch. They got a big steal and dunk by Anthony Black. They stepped up their defensive pressure and intensity and found their energy. That's what this is about as much as anything. On a night when you don't have it, on a night where things aren't easy, on a night where everything is working against you, find your energy. Find it. And that's going to lead you to victory. That's going to lead you to the win that you're hunting for. The Magic cut the 11-point lead down to 5 by the end of the third quarter. And the run was on. The Magic were not done, and we're going to take back the lead and run away with this thing. And over the course of that fourth quarter, whether it was big defensive plays from Anthony Black, Jonathan Isaac, Franz Wagner, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, whoever it was, the Magic started playing Magic basketball again. They got big shots from Caleb Houston and Franz Wagner. They got 3 of the 7 3-point makes from Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. They got 11 points from Paolo Banchero to put the icing on the cake. They outscored San Antonio 37-21 in the fourth quarter after an 18-point third quarter, after a really poor third quarter, put them in a hole. They leaned on their defense to get the job done. And the Magic pulled away for a 116-105 win. It's the Spurs. San Antonio is 31-44. The Magic are 37-40. They should win this game. They should be the better team. Maybe this should have been a blowout. San Antonio's not bad. They were 4-6 in their last 10. They're not like playing terribly. But the Magic did the job at the end of the day. And this is what the Magic were doing in January, in early January, in December, in November. It didn't matter how they won. It didn't matter what they had to do. They found a way to win. You all know me. I like my stats. I like to back everything up. But frankly, winning comes down to the little plays. That's what Mosley said. That's what Jamal Mosley said after Monday's game against the Clippers. And all those little plays the Magic didn't make Monday against a far weaker team in San Antonio, the Magic made all those plays. Wendell Carter grabbed a huge offensive rebound with a little bit more than 3 minutes left between 3 Spurs players to steal an extra possession. That ended with a Kentavious Caldwell-Pope 3 and the first double-digit lead of the game for the Magic. That's what it takes. And to win at the highest levels, the margins are even smaller. We know that. We watched the playoffs. How it was a big 3 midway through the fourth quarter that made it a 7-point game instead of a 4-point game. A 3 and a stop, making it a 10-point game instead of a 5-point game. It's all those things that determine if you're going to win these tight contests, these significant, meaningful games. And at the end of the day, your ability to make those plays, to give that extra effort to dig out that rebound, to dig out that steal, to disrupt that play, It's just about will. So on a night when the Magic didn't have their best, when they settled for threes, when their defense was in shambles for 2.5 quarters, the Magic looked themselves in the eye, looked each other in the eye, looked themselves in the mirror, whatever metaphor you want to use, and took the win back. That's what the Magic did in November and December. That's how the Magic built their record to have this opportunity to play in the playoffs, to play in the play-in. And that's what the Magic found again Tuesday night. That's what they found throughout much of this month of March, and now April. And that's what the Magic are going to need to be successful when they get to the postseason. The Orlando Magic are seeing a historic run from Paolo, Banchero, and Franz Wagner. And even though this was not their absolute best game, let's give credit where credit's due. Let's talk about the history made by Paolo and Franz coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at PrizePicks. Baseball season is in full swing, and there is no better way to get in on the action than with PrizePicks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With PrizePicks, you pick more or less on at least 2 player projections, and if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. Whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, first inning runs, PrizePicks keeps every game exciting. This week, you can pick from a huge selection of options, whether it's baseball, whether it's basketball, whether it's pretty much any sport that's in play right now. PrizePicks helps you put together a grouping of more or less to make your pick, and you can combine sports too. It's really cool. Setting up a lineup takes less than 60 seconds, and when you win, your payout is quick, safe, and secure. You can always take advantage of their Taco Tuesdays. You can do that next week when PrizePicks offers discounts on select players or projections for even more value. It helps you so much get those big wins. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, that's code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. The Orlando Magic obviously are in this good place still. We'll get to offseason stuff and talk and diagnose and do the autopsy on this season a little bit later on. And I think everyone wants to jump the gun on that, and we will get to that in plenty of time. Before we get to the next part, don't forget, we announced it here on the pod, Sunday at 5 p.m., I'm going to do a last week of the season live episode. Sunday, 5 p.m. You can find that on the Locked On Magic YouTube page as well as at @OMagicDaily on X Spaces. I'm sure I will get lots of offseason questions there because as I've discovered in talking about the Magic with a lot of people, so many of the issues, so many things with this Magic team are tied to those offseason questions. I've done a few episodes here over the last few weeks. It's kind of my go-to when I don't have much to talk about. I'm saving something for tomorrow. That's why I'm talking about it now. Just talking about how great Paolo, Banchero, and Franz Wagner are. And look, I see comments from people criticize one player. Everyone says oh, you don't do that for Franz or whatever. And it's look, guys, it's not both and, it's either or. And I think it's really, really important to remember that no matter what you think about this season, no matter where you're sitting or what you're doing, the Orlando Magic truly do have 2 star players. They truly do have 2 guys who completely change games and tilt everything. And while the Magic have probably over-relied on Paolo and Franz to create for this team, they probably relied too much on them in that regard. They are still gravity wells. Defenses are scared to death of them both and put all the attention on them. And so all those open shots, all those opportunities for the other players, they come a lot from Paolo and Franz. For the season, Paolo Banchero is averaging 25.8 points per game. He's shooting 45.3% from the floor, just 31.4% from 3, 72.7% from line, 7.3 rebounds per game, 4.7 assists per game. Franz Wagner is no slouch either. 24.2 points per game, 46.2% from the floor, 29% from three. So those efficiency hawks probably not as thrilled with Franz this year as they usually are. 5.7 rebounds per game, 4.8 assists per game. They're averaging about the same number of assists, which is crazy. All the plus-minus hawks will note that Franz Wagner is a more positive plus-minus. Had a really good game in this one too, plus 21, because he was part of the run that brought the Magic back into the game. Since the All-Star break, obviously, Paolo Banchero has gone on his tear. 29.2 points per game, 47.7% shooting, 32.3% from three. That has gone down significantly over the last 3 games. 78.9% from the line, 7.4 rebounds, 4.3 assists per game, plus 2.6 per game on the plus-minus, by the way. Franz Wagner has taken a little bit of a step back. His shooting percentage has remained about the same at 45.5%, but 22.5 points per game, 23.4% from three. We won't talk about that. 5.7 rebounds and 4.4 assists per game, plus 3.9 per game on the plus-minus. As things stand now, Paolo and Franz will become the first Orlando Magic players to each average 20 points per game in the same season since Shaq and Penny in 1996. But Paolo and Franz keep setting other major historical marks. With Tuesday's game against the Spurs, where both scored 24 points, Franz was 9 for 20, 3 for 10 from three. A lot of threes in this game. We'll get to that in a minute. 3 for 3 from the line, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, no turnovers. Excellent game from Franz Wagner. Didn't shoot quite how you wanted him to. Settled for a lot of threes. He was 6 for 10 on 2-point field goals, but when he got downhill to the basket, he's hitting that mid-range jumper really nicely. When he got downhill to the basket, everything was good. Paolo Banchero is a lot more frustrated, but he's still 9 for 21, 6 for 6 from the foul line, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, did have 5 turnovers for his 24 points. Those two 20-point performances made 9 straight games where each player scored 20-plus points. It is now the longest streak by a duo in Magic history, beating the 8-game streak from November 21st through December 6, 1994, the year the Magic went to the finals. It is the second longest streak by a duo aged 23 or younger in NBA history. Again, to put it quite simply, Paolo and Franz are just making records. Paolo and Franz are doing stuff that the NBA has not seen in a very long time, that the Magic have never seen. And obviously, everything operates through them, and that's not going to change. If you're looking at what the Magic are going to do this offseason, cross out guys who need the ball excessively in their hands. The Magic do need guys that need the ball in their hands. They need to lower their usage rate. They need to get them some easier shots. They need playmakers. We can all agree on that. But they're not going after heliocentric players like a Trae Young or any of those guys that are going to take the ball so far out of their hands. They need help not to be replaced. Because the Magic do have 2 star players. And again, we live in a culture that wants to divide and kind of put a wedge between everyone, create conflict when there isn't. There's no conflict here. These are 2 excellent young players, and the Magic are going to build around them. Whatever flaws they have, the Magic are going to build around them. Yes, there are ideas and people out there trying to sell early that don't see what we see every night. One was posted today or the other day, and it was ridiculous. As good as Denny Avdia has played, the Magic aren't trading Paolo Banchero for anything short of a superstar player, and they're not trading Paolo Banchero. If they could sign him to a max contract today, they would do it. I can almost guarantee the first contract we hear about on free agent day, on June 30th, 6 p.m., when free agency begins, the first contract we're going to hear is Paolo Banchero getting a max. That's how much of a fait accompli it is. The Magic have their 2 all-star players. They have their foundation set in stone. Like Jalen Suggs, throw him in there too. It's all set in stone. Because these guys keep making history, and there is no reason to think they will not keep getting better. That's how good this duo is. That's how good these 2 players are. And they keep doing it night after night after night as they try to carry this team into the playoffs and into the play-in tournament first, and then into the playoffs. And to be sure, as much and as frustrating as this season is, Paolo and Franz by themselves feel good enough to get the Magic to 500. That's like T-Mac level stuff. Go look back at T-Mac, some of T-Mac's teammates. It's always T-Mac. The Magic are a 500 team as long as they have Paolo and Franz. The trick is, how do they get to 50 wins? How do they get to 55 wins? How do they get to 60 wins with them? And that's what the next 2, 3, 4 years are about figuring out. But for the rest of this season, Paolo and Franz have the burden to carry. And they're carrying it very, very well as they continue to find and discover their games at this level. We will run through the box score, talk a little bit more about what went right and what was concerning about the Magic's win over the San Antonio Spurs. We're going to get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it is easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. They're your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When you use Monarch Money, you realize just how much you're spending on food delivery, so you can now budget smarter and save more. Instead of juggling multiple apps or using an Excel spreadsheet like I do, you could use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. It's like having that good teammate to help you with the assist for that easy bucket. And managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. Let's run through the box scores. The Orlando Magic defeat the San Antonio Spurs 116-105. I don't care what the Spurs record is. Beating the Spurs in San Antonio is still a big deal. It is still a good win. And the Magic, I think, actually complete their Western Conference schedule, in this game. So I'm going to actually do some math here. I was told there would not be any math tonight, but the Orlando Magic end their season 10-20 against the Western Conference. Not a strong record against the West. They started off really, really well because they had all those West games front-loaded, but obviously they fell apart a little bit there at the end. So the Orlando Magic, so the Orlando Magic finished the Western Conference schedule. This was a weird game. Like I mentioned, the Magic kind of had to find themselves. They take 47 threes, 47 of 90 shots, so more than half their shots were three-pointers. That is not usually a formula for success. They had only 12 free throws. Again, this is the team that leads the league in free throw rate. They had 12 free throws against 90 field goal attempts. They shot 47.8% from the floor, 18 for 47, that's 38.3% from three. They were 0 for 8 from 3 in the third quarter, and that is a big reason why they fell behind against the Spurs. All these long misses, all these three-point misses led to fast breaks. San Antonio had 13 fast break points. They were able to really pick up the pace, and you can tell the Magic just couldn't get their defense settled. It was just, again, this game was played at San Antonio's pace, but San Antonio made mistakes. Stephon Castle, the rookie, had 7 turnovers to go with his 16 points. The Spurs had 17 turnovers for 20 Magic points. Orlando just 13 for 14 Spurs points. So the Magic were able to convert off those turnovers. They had 13 fast break points themselves. They really dominated the glass with 21 second chance points off 10 offensive rebounds. So that means almost every offensive rebound ended with a basket for the Magic. And so while they got outscored 46-36 in the paint, The Magic made up for it by getting extra possessions. Again, this was a big thing that Jamal Mosley talked about after the game against the Clippers. Giving up all those offensive rebounds to Ivica Zubac put the Magic in a bind in such a low possession game. This was not a low possession game. Lots of possessions in this one. Both teams were going up and down. The Magic kind of got sucked into that pace. And look, they were tired. Back to back. You tend to settle when you're tired. You don't want to take the physical beating. You don't want to take the physical grind. When you're on that second night of a back-to-back, the Magic settled for threes. Their defense was a little bit slow early on. It looked like the second night of a back-to-back. And again, that is not an excuse. And it was disappointing how the Magic played through really the first 3 quarters of this game. But again, they found themselves in the end. They dominated that fourth quarter, took the lead, and never really looked back. Paolo Banchero was really at the center of a lot of the frustration for this team. He had 24 points, 9 for 21 shooting, 0 for 4 from 3, 6 for 6 from the foul line, 10 rebounds, 5 turnovers. Paolo was really looking to the refs all game long, just really frustrated. He couldn't get to the line, just couldn't get himself going. He was trying to force play. So as good as he's played throughout March, and I would say that Paolo Banchero deserves a lot of consideration for Eastern Conference Player of the Month in March. The Magic's record is probably going to keep him from it. It'll probably go to Kobe White. As good as Paolo played, this part of his game is still in there. This kind of like frustrated, I'm going to force things game, where he's not, kind of gets tunnel vision, tries to like kind of game for fouls a little bit. Not that, he deserves some of those fouls. I mean, it was definitely a very physical game. The refs let everybody play. But this is when the Magic can really bog down. Now, he stepped up in the fourth quarter. 11 points, 5 for 6 shooting, closed this game out, put the Magic ahead for good, and just really took the game out of reach. Franz Wagner just equally as good. 24 points, 9 for 20 shooting, 3 for 10 from 3. Again, settled for threes. 10 of his 20 shots are threes. 3 for 3 from the foul line, 5 rebounds, 7 assists. He had 15 of his 24 on 5 for 7 shooting in the second quarter. He scored 5 in the fourth quarter, but again, his impact just felt so much bigger. Again, like the whole thing of this Magic offense, as simplistic as it sounds, as much as it might need some diversity, and certainly needs some diversification, so much of this Magic offense is about getting everyone to pay attention to the Magic star players and kicking out the shooters. And so in this game, the shooters came through. Or at least a shooter came through. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, 23 points, 8 for 11 shooting, 7 for 9 from 3. 7 3-pointers from Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. This is the game the Magic have. This is the kind of game that the Magic hoped they would be getting when they signed Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Again, you don't expect it every night, but this is a solid game and a solid showing from Kenny. He did the job. This is why he is out there. This is why the Magic signed him. And look, he's starting to come around. He's shooting 34.3% from 3 for the season now. He's been above 50% over his last 10 or 20 games. We're going to talk more about that on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Magic. But he's starting to shoot a lot more confidently. They're finding him in his spots. Ball is swinging to him. Again, I said this about Gary Harris so many years ago. I will say this about Kenny. When Kenny's getting shots, that means the offense is working. Because the ball will naturally swing to him, and he will naturally take open shots. Because all the attention is going to the bigs. If teams decide, we can't leave Kenny, that's one less guy defending Paolo and Franz. That's the symbiotic relationship that's been off all year. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope starting to hit shots, and you hope that the scouting report is understanding that to create better driving lanes for these players. Great game from Kenny, probably his best game in a Magic uniform. Stepped up with some huge shots. He had 3 threes in the fourth quarter, including that backbreaking one with about 3 minutes to go. I think really defined the game. Caleb Houston had the same thing. 12 points, 4 for 8 shooting from 3. 2 missed opportunities for dunks. That's my obsession, not anyone else's. He had 9 points in the second half, including 3 3-pointers. Caleb Houston's been the revelation of the last month. Getting him going, getting him consistent minutes. He defends pretty well. I think there's still some room to improve on that end. But getting just a volume 3-point shooter, again, just having a guy who's taking 8 3-pointers. Kenny's taking 9. Even Franz taking 10. Getting guys to shoot with volume, maybe not that volume all the time, but getting guys who can shoot with volume, that's going to open up so many things for this offense. provided they make a consistent enough percentage of them. And that's obviously been the issue all season. Again, we'll talk more about this as we get to the end of the season. I think the offense needs some diversification. I think it needs some personnel changes. I'm not arguing that, but I don't think the offense and the offensive system is so completely broken that it's unsalvageable. There are things that need to be fixed, especially with the team's pace and intention. But most of the issues are just they miss shots. Make shots and everything's okay. Miss shots and you get what the Magic have had throughout the course of this season. The other player, two more players I want to mention. Wendell Carter, only 8 points, 3 for 4 shooting, played only 18 minutes. He was in foul trouble. Saw the best and worst of him in this game. Struggled early dealing with Bismack Biyombo and his size, a lot of fouling. Biyombo was 1 for 5 from the foul line. And then all of a sudden he kind of clicked in and found his groove. He got a huge block in the game, was great protecting the rim. I looked it up before the game, or during the game, that he's, since the All-Star break, he's giving up only like 48% field goal percentage at the rim. He has been excellent. His defense has really come around. He's been good on that end. Offensively, obviously more hit or miss, and this game he was just filled with foul trouble. So it's been consistent with Wendell Carter, but he's been consistently reliable on defense. The last thing of note, Cole Anthony returned to the court after missing the last 2-3 weeks with the big toe strain. Again, he said Saturday that it had been bothering him and he'd been playing through it. And he tried playing on it one time and it was just like his body said, no, you're not doing this. And that's when he kind of shut things down. Looked pretty good for his first game back. Obviously, still some rust to knock off. He was 3 for 8, 1 for 4 from 3. Added 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals. He was active. You could tell he had some energy. He was eager to play. Looked spry. Again, San Antonio attacked him a little bit, but first game back after such a long absence, really good to have him out there. You could just tell the extra offensive energy from him. Helps a lot. Jamal Mosley said he played him more than he wanted to in this game. They're going to ease him back in. Again, there's not a lot of time to do that, but the Magic know they'll need his offensive push at some point over the next month before the season ends. Cole Anthony, good to have him back. The Spurs are led in scoring by Harrison Barnes with 24 points. Stephon Castle has 16. Julian Champagnie, 5 for 9 shooting from 3, 19 points off the bench. Orlando struggled with San Antonio's 3-point shooting. They were 13 for 32, but they went ice cold in the fourth quarter. San Antonio just 1 for 7 from 3. You hate to say it, but sometimes games come down to 3-point shooting. This is a rare one where the Magic won that battle. San Antonio shoots 49.4% from the floor. Again, they just go ice cold in that fourth quarter. Orlando shuts them down, pulls away, and gets the win 116-105. That's going to do it for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. You can find me on Blue Sky at PhilipRR. You can subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all of them. You download podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. You can find us as well on YouTube at Locked On Magic. That's where you'll find our live show, our regular season closing live show. We're going to go live on Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern time. I'll set it up early. You'll be able to get to the link. You'll be able to kind of sit in the room, wait for me to get going. We'll also do that on X Spaces at O Magic Daily. Speaking of which, for the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can find us there on Twitter at O Magic Daily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, the Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. As always, thank you for your support. As if all that's not enough, you can now check out the Locked On Magic Daily newsletter, the one stop for ultimate team and league coverage delivered right to your inbox. Sign up for free now at LockedOnDaily.com. That's LockedOnDaily.com. And start your day with the all-new free Locked On Magic newsletter. That's going to do it for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. On our next episode of Locked On Magic, we're going to talk about the Kenny revival. The Kentavious Caldwell-Pope revival is here. All you believers, all you Reformed believers, come back to the flock. We'll talk Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and his strong run through the last quarter of the season on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Magic. But until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.